So Howard Beck just had an article where he was speaking to small market GMs, and small market GMs claim that the Nets getting LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin for $2 million combined is inequality in favor of the big markets. And you could say a similar thing with Andre Drummond, right? He goes to the Lakers for whatever it is, a very little amount of money. Should also be said that Gorgie Jang went to the Spurs and nobody cares, even if there's a decent chance that he's better than LaMarcus, Blake, and honestly Drummond at this point, because at least he's more willing to play a role than Drummond has been in his career. But even then, you could say it's weird that San Antonio can get a really quality backup big guy for way less than what he's going to get on the open market. But to get back to the article, small market GMs not happy. And they say things like, the system is flawed, you should not be able to add to your team this deep into the season without giving something up. Should be established, Aldridge and Blake way past their primes, not the same guys anymore. But still, small market GMs are concerned about this. And this goes with another recent report that says some agents will threaten small market teams if they don't buy out players. And they say, well, if you don't buy my guy out, then my next guy who's a free agent, we're not even going to have a meeting with you. Now, I guess the first question that I would have is this a big market, small market thing, or is this a good team, bad team thing? Because it's not like the Knicks or the Bulls are getting any buyout guys. Now, just for the Knicks fans, yes, you're currently one game over 500, but you know what I mean. There's a difference between them and the Nets right now. But still, I think if small market GMs are talking about this sort of thing, then there's got to be some validity to it. I mean, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But to dive into these specific reports, I mean, for one, if agents are really telling small market teams, buy out my guy or we're not doing business with you anymore, then yes, that is inequality 100%. Now, even that, there is still a nuance. I mean, if you're not a well-run organization, then you don't deserve to have free agents anyway. But still, assuming that an organization is well-run and that an agent just tells them, do this for me or we're done, yeah, that's not cool. Totally. The next thing I would say by just looking at the buyout market, is it not a little ridiculous that the Lakers could sign 27-year-old Andre Drummond for like $1 million or whatever it was? Like, we're so caught up in it, like it's become such an accepted thing, the buyout, that we don't really think about it like that, but like, it is kind of weird that it's like that. And it's not specific to the Lakers, and I think there's a fine line here, because if you took it away now, it would be like, what are you trying to do, control players and stuff? Like, I'm not saying we should get rid of the buyout market, but perhaps some adjustments could be made, and I'm just going to steal ideas that NBA Reddit had, because I can't think of anything myself. The central idea that I've seen, even if the specifics are a little different depending on who's saying it, is basically the idea that the team taking on the buyout guy should take a larger cap hit. Now, whether that is the remaining money on his contract for that season, not the whole season overall, or it's a percentage of that money, even if the original team is still the one technically paying it, or whatever. You can argue about specifics all day long, but I think there's something to that idea. Now, I think it's possible to go too far with the whole cap hit thing to the point where buyouts wouldn't happen at all, and then I think that's not fair to the player. So I don't know exactly what the middle ground is, and there's a chance none of this is actually a problem and I'm just too desperate for a video or something, but I feel like there's something here, I feel like the idea of giving the good teams in the league still like a little more pressure when it comes to building their roster is good. I don't feel like because you're one of the best teams in the league, you suddenly don't have to worry as much about like how much space you have left until the luxury tax, because you can just get somebody for no money later on in the season. Now, if you're a really good team, you're probably more content with paying the luxury tax and it's not as big of a deal. One thing I've seen is maybe the team that's signing the buyout guy has to give like a pick or something to the other team, like a second rounder. I think that might be a little too much. I think that would result in guys who would otherwise be bought out just getting buried on rosters. Maybe a smaller thing could be the team who lets the guy go gets a trade exception worth some percentage of the guy's contract. I feel like it could be possible to abuse that in some way, but maybe that could work. Again, the specifics would have to be some sort of way, but I feel like there's something there. I've also seen that the NBA's waiver wire should be adjusted, which the NBA actually has. It's just, it doesn't really get used. But the idea with the waiver wire is team puts a guy on waivers, and then starting from the worst team in the league to the best team in the league, anybody can claim the guy. That could give bad teams a chance to get somebody. The problem with it is, as of right now, you need cap space to get the guy, which teams usually don't have during the year. So there could be some adjusting and that sort of thing. That way, a bad team probably wouldn't want a guy. Maybe a mid-tier team could get their chance at some okay player rather than the guy just going, all right, forget all you dudes, I'm going to LA. You could also just have a bidding war. Just straight up, whoever offers the most money, you get the guy. I mean, that would really force big market teams to have to be like, well, we only have $4 million to the luxury tax. We're not getting this dude. So I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. Maybe this isn't actually a problem at all. The other thing I'll talk about is like the perception of the NBA that this creates, the idea of like players can do whatever they want, leave your bad team, go to your good team. I mean, again, these are three guys who are overrated, to put it bluntly. I mean, Blake and Aldridge are past their primes. They could still be all right, but they're not the same dudes. And Drummond has been like the litmus test for casual versus actual NBA fan for the past like 3 years. That said, Drummond is definitely worth more than what the Lakers are paying him. And maybe that's bad for the NBA. I mean, it's tough for me to talk about like what's good or bad for the NBA because I'm speaking from a non-outsider perspective. Like, this is my life every day. So, I mean, the NBA would have to do some really dumb things for me to jump ship. So, for somebody who's kind of like on the edge, do I like the NBA? Do I not like the NBA? I don't know what it's going to take for that person to go all in. It's probably going to take a reincarnation of Michael Jordan. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's not really older people who hop onto the NBA. I feel like you're either in when you're like 15 or you're not. And I'm not sure a 15-year-old is really going to be upset by this sort of thing. But I will reiterate, I think it is possible, not saying this is the case, because there's more than one NBA executive from a small market team who has said this thing. Different teams, I'm assuming. But, again, the NBA is not going to make your team good for you. Like, if you're trash as an organization and then you're upset that something like this happened, it's like, well, nobody wants to go to you anyway, man. So figure out your draft picks or whatever first. So yeah, I'm going to take a super hard pivot real quick. I just want to acknowledge Evan Fournier's 0 for 10 Celtics debut. The most Celtics, or this season Celtics thing that could happen. You get the guy, misses literally every shot. A number of easy shots, by the way. Missed a couple of bunny layups, open jumpers. It was great. I mean, it wasn't great, but it kind of was like symbolic in some way where it's just like, nah, it's just not going to go well this year. It's just how it's going to be. My Celtics are going to lose in round 1. It's going to be awesome. I mean, they'd actually be in the play-in tournament as of right now with Miami, the Pacers, and the Bulls. It's kind of a stacked play-in.